All right, folks, welcome into a Saturday edition of The Closing Line. I will be your host today, Donnie Rightside, as usual here on Saturday. Flying a solo mission today. The big man on campus has some prior engagements. He is at a wedding out there, folks, but he's not at the royal wedding. He's in a wedding for his brother there. So congratulations on the big man. Hope everything goes well on family day for the big man on campus. But I'll be here guiding you through this Major League Baseball card today on a Saturday, chock full. And if you're in the Northeast like I am, it's rain, 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 and more rain. And of course, there will be some raining as well, or will be raining as well for the Preakness Stakes that are going to be taking place pretty soon down there at Pimlico. So welcome into the chat box. Where'd everybody fill in? We'll certainly be able to retweet out some stuff here once this information goes live. Just send a quick retweet out there. We are live, and we'll have some fun today. Today, it's a lot of fun. You know, there's not going to be a lot of side chatter out there, and I'll try to pay attention to the chat box as much as I humanly possibly can today, since I do not have my cohort here, the big man on campus, who, again, has the day off, but we'll see what takes place out there. So we'll say hi. Kyle Honey said, welcome in. Matthew Varnum, welcome in. Today, we're going to use this as a little bit of a learning tool day for us because, you know, a lot of people out there try to pick the minds of people here at SBR, you know, or on the streets or at the Sportsbook or wherever it may be, and see what type of wagers that they like to play and how they like to play those wagers. It is Major League Baseball season for me. As you know, I don't do NHL. I enjoy the sport. I don't do the NBA. I love to watch the playoffs there. I'm primarily a Major League Baseball guy, and a couple of people have picked my mind and say, you know, Donnie, what do you really look for? And what websites do you use? You know, how do you come up with your knowledge there? I mean, there is a golden key, and a lot of people like to look at some different types of information. I myself like to probably look at some different information than you guys out there in the chat box do as well. But today we'll share some of that information, go over some of the notes that I used to try to help win some wagers last night, which worked out last night. Over 4.5 came in for me in the Milwaukee Brewers Minnesota Twins game yesterday. Goes over the 4.5, hits 5. I know a lot of people out there had 5. I got burned on a play like that last week where I tried to take the juice plus 100 on a game, and that one ended up pushing when it should have had an easy win. Last night covered in the 4th inning. Should actually went over much, much more than the 5 runs there. If we looked at, I believe it was Max Kepler's double off the wall to set up 2nd and 3rd and nobody out. And keep in mind, folks, that home run hit was about 6 inches from being a home run, but ended up being a double. Ground ball back up the middle with a nice play by Suter. Byron Buxton, one of the most useless bats in the entire Major League Baseball, strikes out. And then I believe Adrianza popped out after that. So it wasn't too much of a great thing there. Welcome into the chat box. Kyle, Matthew, Raul, Giorgio, Kyle, Farouk, Islam, I guess I'm saying there. What's up? Good morning. Lloyd's in there. I know Lloyd's getting the t-shirt on his way as well. Mr. Say10. So we are ready to go. We'll dip into this card for a little bit, try to let up Phil. I know there's 50 people watching here, but we might as well get it started, folks, because, again, there's not really any timeline on Saturdays. We can go a little bit over 12 o'clock if we want to, but we'll try to keep it within that 1 hour time frame. I know during the week, the right side of campus, you know, promoted Sportsbook. It's what we do here at sportsbookreview.com, and that is Intertop. So we'll go over some of those lines here in just a little bit. Just to tell you a little bit about the channels, it's Saturday. Some people can't catch the shows Monday through Friday. This is sportsbookreview.com. Give us a follow on Twitter at SBR Sports Picks. If you haven't done so yet, look at that subscribe button down there. It's up to 39,000. If you haven't subscribed yet, click that subscribe button down low there. Get the alerts each and every time we have a show that goes on the air here at sportsbookreview.com. You'll be able to chime in and get right in that chat box, say hello, yell at us, you know, get on our nerves, you know, provide some great information, provide terrible information. That's what the chat box is there for. The better the live chat box, the better the overall show here, especially during baseball season to carry us through the summer months. I know a lot of people out there, we stated before, are going to be gambling on the Preakness today. And I got to figure, you know, Preakness today, if you're taking Justify, it's on the probably same lengths as taking like Clayton Kershaw when he starts at home, Max Scherzer when he starts at home. Looks like a damn near sure thing. The only thing not sure in the Northeast today, folks, is the overall weather here. Another muddy day. But then again, hey, if we're looking at trends, like we like to look at trends a lot. Go back 2 weeks to the Kentucky Derby. Pouring rain, muddy slate, Justify wins. Hello. Only, 8 horses in this field today? And it's going to be a lot of rain down there. So Justified the heavy favorite as usual. King Art, what's good out there? Dizzy Rothstein, what's up out there? Craig H, what's up out there? Had Milwaukee money line plus 135 yesterday. Took him again at plus 110. Man, Suter was great yesterday. Boy, wasn't he really good? Looking at some of those numbers. But let's get into the action today. And we're going to get down to some notes here. I know a lot of people chiming in here. We'll take a look and see exactly what we go over. Now, when we're looking at Major League Baseball information, and you're trying to get over and say, you know, what actually do I like to look for? What websites do you like to use? Because there's a lot of them. Keep in mind, though, I'm 40 years old. Before, you know, I mean, the internet's been around since, you know, the mid-90s, basically, but really hitting its heyday in the 2000s. But a lot of this information, folks, before you had to pay for, or you had to do all this information yourself. You hit a Google search and like one website would come up, not showing exactly what you want. Thank goodness for that, because in Major League Baseball, more than any other sport from me, is not so much of the actual eye contact that you're going to make with the game, but more the numbers that are going to try to help you predict what's going to happen in the future. Because, hey, if it was really easy out there, folks, and you're looking at, StatFox per se and say, hey, you know what? This guy is a 9 ERA. This guy is a 2 ERA. Hey, let's bet the guy with the 2 ERA over the 9 ERA. Not so much like that anymore. So we'll get into some of those knowledge and notes there. If anybody has any stuff that's out there that they want to chime in with and say, hey, look, this is some of the websites I use. First and foremost, if you're saying, Donnie, if you had one website, same way I used to ask you in football or whatever, if you had one exercise to do, what would it be? If I only had access to one website on the planet for MLB information, no doubt in my mind, it would be Fangraphs.com. If you're not using Fangraphs.com, if you haven't heard of Fangraphs.com, you definitely should check it out here. The reason I'm saying that is because it takes a lot to go over information. Fangraphs is an unbelievable website that gives you almost information overload. And when I do tell people, it's like, look, take it for a test drive for a month, 2 months, 3 months. It's a free service out there, but I actually do pay for the upgrade. I believe it's $50 a year, the donation you have to make, so you don't get any pop-up ads. And you can rip through there and save a whole lot of time. That is definitely something that should be worth your time. It's only $50 for the year, and you can zip through there like a high-speed engine on the internet. It's beautiful. But if you're not using it there, sometimes when you go to look at Fangraphs.com, it's a lot of overload, a lot of percentages out there, a lot of advanced metrics, a lot of normal metrics, a lot of stuff that takes place in the past. When you go on that website, don't get involved in overall. See what works for you. Cap some games using some of the information and numbers that Fangraphs does have to offer, because every single year you're adapting and readapting what you like to look. Because if they say the record is broken, you better fix it, or if it's broken, break it and refix it again for yourself, because you can never stop improving. Some of the information that I do like to look at when you're looking at Fangraphs there is something you added into. We all see, FIP, XFIP. XFIP, I've added that in there into the rotation this year as well. Looks like it's working out pretty well. And if you're not sure with some of these, new terminology or words on, there is a glossary on there that will explain exactly everything to you. I mean, it's a lot of mumbo jumbo jargon, how they get to it. But the best part about it, folks, you don't have to do the math. It shows up there every day, updated with the information that we do like to take a look at. So if you're going from some advanced metrics there, weighted on base average, I absolutely love to look at weighted on base average. If you take a look, hey, look, he's hitting 329. His on base percentage is this. His slugging percentage is this. I like to get a little bit deeper, because weighted on base percentage is going to let you know what he does with each individual at bat. It's going to take into place unintentional walks, hit by pitch, singles, doubles, triples, and home runs, and how you use them. Because as the theory says, all base hits are not created the same. You're going to take it on a case-by-case basis. How does one rake left-handed pitching? How does one rake right-handed pitching? That's a great advanced metric that I do like to look at. That's going to tell you a little bit more than, oh yeah, Jose Altuve hits 330. The higher that weighted on base average, the better. And also, if you're looking at Fangraphs, there are some charts and stuff that you can use on there that shows you like what a great, weighted on base averages. If you're getting over 400 weighted on base average, that's outstanding. It's MVP worthy. If you're getting around maybe a 290 or 300, that's awful. And you can use that in to see how a pitcher does square off with a batter. The other one that we look at, as I said, XFIP out there, which is, again, expected fielding independent of pitching. The reason that you're going to like this metric out there and why you want to incorporate this in your overall working of day-to-day baseball is because you want to take the fielding out of it. The slick shortstop. Oh, what a great play by the shortstop. Boy, that left fielder has a gun. If you're betting on a pitcher in baseball, which is 90% of the reason half the time that we bet the game, you want to see how they do as individually. So if they break it down, you're looking at Ks, walks, hit by pitch, and fly balls allowed. Why is the most important thing fly balls allowed? Because that ball carries out of the ballpark. It's going to be a home run. The difference between XFIP and FIP overall is XFIP's going to say the number of home runs he possibly could have had by the fly balls, whereas FIP only takes place and says, you know what, he gave up 5 home runs, therefore that's what he gave up, and that's what we're going to expect. If you take a look at the XFIP, I like that a little bit better because it's going to try to predict over the next couple starts, over the next summer, or however many starts he's going to have, is the expected amount of fly balls he's going to give up, which, again, will lead to more home runs, the ground balls, the double plays, the line drives. The one thing a pitcher can control a little bit is obviously ground ball and fly ball type ratios out there. So that's certainly something that you do want to look into when going back and forth. I know a lot of people out there looking at BABIP, batting average of balls in play. It's a great metric. The only thing I don't use it that much for, is Jeff and I talked about it on the shows previous on the right side of campus, was the simple fact that it doesn't account for the home run ball. And we know now nowadays it's all about launch angles out there, right? Who's going to hit a home run or strike out? It doesn't matter. I don't want a single. I don't want to walk. How many times have you seen so far in Major League Baseball this year, folks, that it's first and third, it's bases loaded, it's one out, it's no outs? The kid comes up to the plate and says, you know what? I'll be damned if I'm going to take these pitches. I'm going to swing from my heels because you know what's going to look great? My, slugging percentage. I'm going to get a home run. What's my velo going to be when I hit this ball out of the park? Ooh, man, hopefully I can get a great launch angle. Dude, just put the ball in play, pick up the RBIs, and keep rounding the bases. So many times that comes up, but that's exactly what people are looking for. So when you take a look at that xFIP there, balls in play, balls in the air, that's going to account for a lot more runs there since they do have the capabilities to be home runs. Welcome in, say 10. Yeah, rain in Los Angeles. I get it. Alex, welcome in. Greg, on your team, Donnie, thanks as always, brother. Yes, here we go. Matthew Varn and Donnie, I've seen some syndicates sites use algorithms, come up with the highest probability of a team winning game that charge tens of thousands a year. Yeah, exactly. I mean, look, if we could all predict the future and everything was simple, we would all be winners in baseball and football and everything else combined. But obviously, we know that is not the case. A couple other sites that you want to look at there just to familiarize yourself with. StatFox is a great site. It's a little bit of a downgrade, so to speak, from what a FanGraphs can offer. But if you're just looking to get into the game and get some numbers there real quick and easy, who's a good starter? What's their walks and hits, the innings pitched? You can do a quick check how they do on the road, their last 3 starts. Are they hot? Are they cold? Road splits and things like that. StatFox is a great site to have in your arsenal. I don't lean on it that much, but if it's there, I'm going to use it to my advantage. And sometimes I do check out StatFox just going over the next day's numbers and say, all right, look, pitching matchup here, I want to key on here. Looks like this may be an over situation, maybe an under situation. This guy pitches very well at home. Quick and easy tool to use there. Also, folks, daily baseball data. The reason I use dailybaseballdata.com, folks, I'm a totals player a lot of the time, at least 50-50. Right now, we're leaning more on totals than we are sides. You got to know the weather conditions out there, folks. Is the wind blowing out? Is the wind blowing in? Is there going to be a chance of rain tonight? When is the rain creeping in? Because that's all going to filter in. One of the things I just started looking at and paying even more attention to, folks, in baseball season are the umpires and how they react to rain. If rain is in the forecast, it's the interleague play, Baltimore and Philadelphia. Boy, we better hustle through this game. So I'm going to throw anything within 8 inches of the plate. I'm going to call a strike just to make sure we get this in, because down the line, we're not going to be able to make up an interleague game between the Phillies and the Baltimore Orioles because of, time constraints. And we don't want to put it in August because they're going to be playing divisional play and all that stuff. All that things, take a look. So dailybaseballdata.com gives you that. Also, if you want to get a little bit more intricate there when you're betting baseball totals, I like to use, I believe it's the the Neely scale, which is going to show you overall quality of the air. If you're looking at Colorado, obviously, air density is going to be in the 40s. The ball's going to travel well, not much resistance there. So each and every game that you check into, if you're leaning on a total, and if the air density is low, that ball is going to travel further. So if you go down the hot land, it's real humid down there. You have an air density of 58 or 59. That ball might travel further. But then again, if you get out to San Francisco, if you get out to Los Angeles, that marine layer out there is going to slow it down. So you're going to see air densities in the mid to high 60s. Even though that wind is always blowing out, folks, at AT&T out in San Francisco, doesn't mean the ball is going to travel out there, because that heavy marine layer is going to weigh the baseball down. So always some interesting stuff to try to take a look at there and see exactly what air density and also windy and conditions would be there as well. Armin, what's good out there? Ron, what's good out there? Everybody checking in. Agon Tarjian. Hello. Just going over some things on some stats that I like to look at. Then we're going to cap this entire Major League Baseball card, see if you can find some stats out there. Roto Grinders is the great one. Say, Donnie, Roto Grinders, you're not really a fantasy type baseball guy and whatnot when you go back and forth. Now, I am not. But the one thing I like as a handicapping advantage is they do have their starting lineups. Now, great. Hey, look, a lot of sites have starting lineups. Major League starting or MLB starting9.com. You can get that on Twitter. It's going to show exactly the lineups when they're posted. But I like the fact that Roto Grinders is going to give me a fair and advanced look at who might be starting the game 1 through 8. So you can get a jump on looking at plus hitters, which is going to go over in just a few moments here, and see who's possibly starting the game, as opposed to going with a blank slate saying, you know what, I think here's who's going to be starting here. They're usually pretty good there. I mean, again, there might be 1 or 2 guys that aren't going to be in and out and interchange and mix plays. But if the guy's in the DL, if he's banged up, they take that into account and say, here's a good look at what your lineup's going to be. So Roto Grinders is fantastic for that. A couple of those websites there. I mean, there's some other out there that you guys certainly like to use and see everything there. But those are the websites that are my go-tos. I have double monitors here placed up there. They're up all day long. Now, the best part about that for me, folks, is I can sit here behind a computer for 10 hours a day and do nothing but study Major League Baseball. A lot of you guys out there, delivery drivers, bartenders, sales guys, pharmaceutical reps out there, stockbrokers, whatever you are, real estate agents. You guys are on the move all day long. And sometimes you can miss some of this information where the luxury of me is I get to sit behind my computer all day long. If I want to take a nap during the day for a half hour and come back, I get alerted on stuff that I like to look forward to. A lot of people don't have the luxury because you guys are working hard out there 9 to 5. Let's try to make your job a little bit easier at sportsbookreview.com, where you can just chime in and get these numbers already filled out and played for you as well. So let's take a look here. Got everything used in there. And again, looking at some of those numbers that I like to use. Now, why don't we put them into play here for you and we can take a look. So what we'll do today, typically when me and Jeff work together, we'll go over the rotation numbers all the way down, up and down the charts. Now, the rotation numbers, not even going to be a matter to us here because first game's going to start at 107. We'll be well off the air before those games actually take place at 107. So just to keep it easier for everybody watching out there, we're going to go in a time slot. We'll start at the 965, 966 game, which is 107, going to start in Toronto, and we'll end up all the way down at 910 out on the left coast here. Thanks for tuning in to us, folks. Let's get in and let's get right after it now on what we like to look at some of these games. Now, let's take them. Now, keep in mind also, this is always the funny thing. When you're doing extra prep work, and I know it's going to be on the solo mission, so to speak, here on Saturday, you like to try to get some of the numbers out of the way the night before as they carry into today. A lot of pitching change-ups. There's obviously been some double headers out there, so some of my numbers did have to change. We won't get too in-depth into exactly what we look up lineup-wise because, again, I'm only looking at lineups here that are projected there. They're not exactly coming out here. Let's take a look here and let's see. 965, 966, Oakland and Toronto, folks. It's going to be Mineo versus Gaviglio, who I was actually capping for Biagini last night. Was able to change up some metrics on what I like to look for here. If we look at 50-50 ticket split here early on here between these two clubs, Pinnacle opened up at a 109. Chris is at 111. So you're basically going to pick them with a number of 9 that is showing up across the board. If we take a look at some of the numbers that I like to look at, weighted on base average, Mineo towards left-handers, they can get them a little bit, a 344. If you're taking a look at, the handy scale here, just to give you an exact idea of what you look at, on that 340 is above average. So somebody's are tagging him from the left-handed side, even though, folks, Mineo is a left-handed pitcher. If we take a look at from the right-handed side, and again, I like to preface this by saying the numbers I'm using, I am a road and home split guy. These numbers for Mineo that I'm going to give you and the numbers for obviously Gaviglio that I'm going to give you are road and home splits here, because if you get into just a quick 30-second diatribe on that, it makes a difference. Pitchers are used to being at home. They're used to looking at certain directions. They're used to warming up and coming to the ballpark the same way, using their own information, using their own weight room and their own technologies at home. Now you're going to go on the road. It's a little bit different in those environments. And again, not all ballparks are created equally. In the NBA, same three-point shooting range, same hand court, same distance. Most arenas almost identical, between 18 to 22,000. In Major League Baseball, you're going to have wind conditions. You're going to have different fence sizes. Some people say, even though it's supposed to be saying the mound is a little bit different here, or I can see this guy in the third row from this vantage point. So the numbers I use always when I'm capping are home and away splits. I don't give a damn how good Sean Mineo was at home or if he threw a no-hitter at home. I only care what he does on the road in different environments. So those numbers from the right-hand side, pretty good, 2.62. If you look at his xFIP on both sides of the plate, he can be hit a little bit from the left-handed side. Now, if you're taking a look at trying to gain an advantage in this Oakland Athletics game versus the Toronto Blue Jays, the Blue Jays are going to throw 9 right-handed batters at them. So just to the naked eye, you say, wait a second here. So Sean Mineo is a lefty. They're going to have 9 right-handed batters. Super advantage for Toronto, but that's not the way they act accordingly. They do have 5+ bats when they're facing left-handed pitchers, but Mineo himself is much better pitching to right-handed batters on the road than he is left. So don't get caught up in the optics. You're saying 9 right-handed batters, left-handed pitcher. That's an automatic play. It's not. Get into some of those numbers. He handles right-handed bats on the road much more efficiently than he does from the left-hand side. If we take a look from the right-hand side, we look at, go down to Gaviglio here. He could be hit a little bit. Left-hand side at home, 307 weighted on base average, which is below average. But if you're looking at his xFIP, one of these numbers is lying to you. xFIP is 5.46, which is off the charts horrible from the left-handed side. But if you're looking from Oakland, how do you take advantage of it? Their advanced lineup today is only coming in with 3 left-handed batters. So you're saying, well, that doesn't match up good. Why don't you just load up with right-handed bats? It's just not what's going to be available to Oakland today. So xFIPs are decent there. Is this one of those games that's going to be on my card? No, because Gaviglio doesn't have a ton of action here. Only 8 left-handed batters he's faced at home, and only 10 right-handed batters, which a lot of you guys come in here and say, you know what? Take a look at what your overall betting numbers are. I don't bet through April, so I usually like to have a couple starts for the guy at home, especially on a spot start. So I don't have much here, but if you're looking at just betting angles, take the optics away because some of these numbers don't add up. Now, if you said Toronto was lining up 9 left-handed batters versus Manaea, you might be in play with something like that that's going to be going up here for us. If we take a look, let's go over the next game on the chart, Hendricks and Castillo, the first game of a doubleheader. Welcome in, folks. If you're looking in the chat box out there, feel free to say hello. We'll stop from time to time to go over it, but it's hard for me to pay direct attention and be real stealthy on the chat box and type in a lot of stuff while we're getting going today. See, that's good information, Colin. He said Jed Lowry's out of the lineup today. My advanced numbers, or the Roto Grinder, said he's probably going to be in the lineup, so that's going to take away another plus bat for the Oakland Athletics. That's why when you get those numbers in the morning, once those starting lineups come out, you can fine-tune some of these things and try to find some intricacies there. I'll see who's batting for him, but Oakland had 6+ at-bats coming into the game, so more, take another guy to the lineup. Maybe it's only 5 batters. There's a couple numbers that you like to look at going over both fourth and fifth. Game 2 here. Let's go Hendricks and Castillo here. 67% backing the Cubs. Straight off a murder fest of the Reds last night. I believe it ended up 8-1. Lester pitched a really good game, even though his numbers didn't really stack up too well in that game. Did pitch really well. Cubs bats came to play early and often. I believe they're up 6 or 7 runs by the 5th inning in this one. 132 Pinnacle, 135 Chris, 140 Intertop. So obviously people are always going to be backing the Cubs. If we try to take a look at some numbers out there, the one thing that a lot of people are doing and banking on the Cubs here, folks, in this spot, left-handed bats on the road. When Hendricks goes on the road, 391 weighted on base average. If you look from the right-hand side, he's actually a little bit better to 312, which is below average. So he's handling those right-handed bats better. The only thing is here is if we can line up left-handed bats versus Hendricks. Advanced numbers there coming in for Cincinnati, folks. 6 left-handed batters are going to be in the lineup, or expected to possibly be in the lineup for the Reds. That is an advantage there because you're having a 4.52 xFIP. Means balls are getting in the air. He's not pitching that well on the road, and there might be a shot to get some of those angles in there. So looking at 130, 140, maybe a decent live number just based on that pitching match. If we get to Castillo, though, the folks hasn't been that great. Good versus lefties at home, 325, which is right about average. There's a weighted on base average. If we're taking a look at Castillo from the right-hand side at home, right-handers tend to get off a little bit better off Luis Castillo, 363. But his xFIP numbers are very good, folks. Look at his lefty-righty split, 210 and 3.29. He's not giving up a lot here at home. So, I mean, that's something to certainly keep in mind. Cubs are going to have 5+ at batters in this lineup today, 5 right-handed batters, so they might be able to do a little bit of damage. But if you're looking at a guy who's just dependent on just him pitching and not his fielding there, his numbers stack up a lot better than Hendricks here for Colorado. Kyle. 4 left-handed hitters for the Reds and 2 switch hitters, but Castillo's still hitting 8th. Yeah, I hate the 8th. I always do that too. That's a good point you bring up there with switch hitters. I always assume they're going to bat from the appropriate side. If you have a lefty and you're a switch hitter, you'll bat from the right-handed side. So it looks like that's going to stay up there. So you're going to get about 6 right-handed bats in that lineup, which is huge when you're going against Hendricks because it's clear that he struggles to get you out from the left-hand side, and they're going to stack those bats. And we know when the Reds get hot, that they can put up some runs out there. Certainly have a lot of fun there. Who's winning NASCAR race today, Donnie? I'm going to be there. I have no idea. I didn't even know NASCAR is running. Is it East Coast, West Coast? Because on the East Coast, it's just a straight up quagmire here. But in that game, that's game 1. It's a doubleheader. So obviously, if you're going to look to cap game 2 in that game, it might be a little bit different of a struggle there because you're going to wait to see, who's available in the bullpen and all that stuff, which brings me up to another quick thing here when we're talking about, which I'll get into for just a moment here, taking games half, which means first 5 innings, or full game wagers. The one thing I really like, and I think you can gain a nice advantage to, folks, in the first 5 innings, and I've always called it, if you watch the shows in the past, I call it betting in a vacuum. And what that means is you know exactly what to expect coming into the game. I see the starting lineup 1 through 9 for this team. I see the starting lineup 1 through 9 for the other team here. I also know who's pitching in that game, and usually pitchers, quote unquote, unless they get raked, will make it through 4, 5, 6, possibly 7 innings. The one thing that's tough to cap outside of the first 5, which gives you the advantage in the first 5, is now the bullpens come in with the specialties. Boy, I'm a great left-handed hitter. Great. They're going to bring the lefty that's going to try to stop you there. How many times, folks, have you seen 4-3 after 5? Game ends up what? 5-3. Or you see 4-4 at the end of 5. The game ends up 5-4 because the game condenses in those last 4 innings, where now, as opposed to you think you have an advantage with batting because they're used to batting against a right-hander, now in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th innings, you're going to be bringing in flamethrowers. Hey, setup guys are good right now. High strikeout ratios. You ever watch a closer in the 9th inning? Yes, the bullpens do melt down and blow up there, but the closer is designed to put you away and minimize and say, I'm probably coming in for about 4 batters here. I'm throwing heat and giving this guy everything I have, and I already have the scouting report on who's coming up 7, 8, 9, or 1, 2, 3 in the next inning to get them out. When you bet in the first 5 innings, you know a lot more than the variables that take place 6 through 9 innings. So now we have a lot of numbers out there switched over the past few days to going back to first 5-inning wagers. And I think you could put some money in your pocket because a lot of the guesses are taken out. Who's available closer tonight? Who's going to come in the 8th? Did you burn one of your guys the day before that usually comes in the 7th and he's not available tonight? A lot of the times we don't know that up front. So therefore, I love to use first 5 wagers, and I call it betting in a vacuum because you can sort of normalize some of the numbers as opposed to taking some guesses out there. Let's keep it moving, folks. We're going to go here. Eflin and Gant, Philadelphia Phillies, and the St. Louis Cardinals. 63% of those tickets, folks, coming in on the Philadelphia Phillies here, who dropped one last night to the St. Louis Cardinals. See if they can get back on track here. Over-under opened up at 8.5, now sits at 9 across the board. Getting a decent number on this game, despite 63% of those tickets coming in on the Phillies. Looks like that money is moving a little bit towards the St. Louis Cardinals direction because we take a look, 113 up to 119, 110 up to 119. So about 119, 115, 118s across the board, roughly a 50-50 outcome in that game. So if we're going to take a look at some numbers here with Eflin, now keep in mind also, he's only faced 20 total batters on the road. So you have to take some of these numbers with a grain of salt. Left-handed batters, a 5.11 weighted on base average. So you would say, oh my goodness, they're getting on left and right. Whatever they touch out there, they're getting a base hit on. But his xFIP numbers, folks, are only 1.36 to lefties on the road. So it looks like he's due for some regression there to the mean, which is a good thing for him. From the right-hand side, it's almost the exact opposite. How about a weighted on base average, folks, of a 134 on the road, but your xFIP is a 4.72. So you're getting that sort of mix podge here, or hodgepodge of information, which usually I throw out until I can get a much better number on another game on that one. St. Louis is going to be throwing 5+ at bats here at home and 5 right-handed bats at Eflin to see if they can take advantage of some of those numbers. Gann at home, look at his right hand to righties, a 0 weighted on base average, but yet his xFIP is 407. So it says, he's playing a little bit ahead of the curve and due to catch up to a little bit of regression, but lefties do touch up Gant here at home, folks. 371 weighted on base average. His xFIP is 5.39. So if you can get some lefties out there, they're going to be able to take advantage of them. But if you look at the Philadelphia Phillies advanced numbers for today, folks, only 3 left-handed bats look like they're going to get into the lineup for the Philadelphia Phillies. So not too sure they can take overall advantage of it. I know a lot of people out there were looking at the game last night with the Phillies and the Cardinals, and rightfully so. So was I. Arrieta's on the mound versus Waka. Why don't we just take the under? Game ends up exploding and going over in that game. So sometimes the numbers that we use out there don't always like to hold up and change and, certainly stay in place for us there and see what's what. But if anybody has any comments or questions out there, we can certainly go over them. But we'll just speed right through all these games today, see if we can find some additive and some edges because there are a few out there. But again, keep in mind there's some bad, rainy, windy, trashy conditions that are going to take place out there. And just be careful on that because, again, it can affect your numbers. It can affect the overall game and the speed of the game. And, does the ump want to call a 3-2 strike to put the guy on, or is he, going to call it a ball? That can also happen there. What's the BABIP though? I don't mind BABIP that much, but once I really get down to the numbers of batting average of balls in play, it's like I would love the number if it included home runs. I mean, just include home runs, and I'll certainly include it a lot more because we talked about it yesterday. Just one of those hypothetical theories of 20 at bats, 10 strikeouts, and 10 home runs. Your BABIP is 0. Which if you're just looking at the naked eye going, this guy's like batting like a pitcher, man. It's awful. Meanwhile, he has 10 home runs. So I would like it too if it just came in there. But Luke, I have a question. 17 games and the grand salami is 142. What do you think, Donnie? Well, I mean, I haven't capped it all to that knowledge, but there's a lot of variance when you're looking at grand salamis as opposed to not. But games with, if you're going to have aces out there, I don't know, Max Scherzer's out there, Paxton's out there today, but not a lot of like super dominant guys. If you're a grand salami guy, it's hard to always take the under because what are you really rooting for in baseball? It's the same way we talk about, betting football, baseball, basketball, unders, man. You got to have a wild streak in your system in order to do that. So certainly interesting. Let's go. Keep it moving down the list, folks. 953, 954. Gray is going to take the mound versus Stratton, Colorado, and San Francisco. I know a lot of people have been trying to ride that Colorado train to plus money. Doesn't look like you could do it today, folks. Pinnacle opens up 117. Chris at 121. Intertops at 116. Over under across the board, seemingly staying at 7.5. 64% of those tickets, folks, coming in on the Colorado Rockies. If we take a look here, Gray on the road, he's got decent splits. And this is another reason why, folks, I like to use road splits and home splits and separate the two. Where's Gray pitching his home games? In the worst possible spot you can pitch him. So some of those numbers are going to be skewed, ERA, hits, strikeouts, all that stuff, because you play in Colorado. Now let's move out of the advantage because at Colorado, when you go on the road, Pirates, pitcher's ballpark. San Francisco Giants, pitcher's ballpark. Los Angeles Dodgers, folks. Pitcher's ballpark. He doesn't pitch to a home ballpark that's very conducive to low ERAs and every other metric that you want to use for pitchers. But on the road, he does well. Weighted on base average, 323 to lefties. Right-handed batters, 223. So he's certainly putting them away. xFIP numbers changed a little bit. He's still dominant versus lefties. His xFIP numbers on the road are a 3. That is outstanding there. But on the road, he might be able to get touched up from the right-hand side, 4.23 as his xFIP. And San Francisco not bringing too many guys to the plate today from what it looks like from their advanced look at their lineup, only 3+ batters. If we're looking at Stratton from the other side, boy, if you can get some left-handers in the lineup against him at home, 490 weighted on base average. That's off the charts. xFIP 6.42 off the charts. So if you can get some left-handed bats in that lineup tonight for the Colorado Rockies, they should do some damage. And again, if they're loading up on right-handed bats, 318 weighted on base average, folks, that's about average there, right on the mean line. But his xFIP at home, a 4.90. So if you're looking at just the first 5 innings from both the left side and the right side for the Colorado Rockies, they should do some damage on Stratton tonight. So if you're asking me right now, without seeing the exact lineups here, I would be leaning all over Colorado right now just for those metrics, because Colorado should be able to hit Stratton here based on those numbers that are coming up here. Mr. Same thing, Colorado. Yeah, it's 4 baseballs. Hey, 4 out of 5 stars. I went over 7.5. I can't blame you, CC. You know, it seems like they could put up some numbers there. And again, those ones look good there, especially early on if we're taking a look at a few of those numbers. I was just kidding, Donnie. BABIP is dumb stats. Yeah, again, like BABIP would be a decent stat. I agree, Ace. But how can you take out the most important part of BABIP is a home run, and it's a fair ball. So I don't expect her to come back too much, but every once in a while, dudes, we always joke, you know, advanced metric guys will look at xFIP, FIP, but some of this stuff you can bend and make it into your rotation there of what you actually look forward to with games, and certainly get off there. Why don't we keep it moving down the list today? We got about a half hour into the show, so we got plenty of time here, which is great. 967, 968, Cleveland and Houston. It's going to be Kluber and Keuchel on the mound. Now, when you take a look at Kluber and Keuchel, I mean, 2 names ring out. 2 Cy Young candidates seems like each and every year, and these numbers do play into it as well. Kluber from the left-hand side of the road, his weighted on base average, folks, 248, off the charts good. Right-handed batters, think they can touch him on the road, 276, off the chart good numbers. Then if you look at his xFIP here, a little bit higher. He's got a 3 from left-handed side, so basically he's shutting you down from the left-hand side of the plate. The right side of the plate, xFIP numbers show a little bit higher there, 4.10 on the xFIP, so you might be able to touch him up a little bit. Houston's going to have 5+ bats in the lineup today, but good luck if you're trying to overall pick on Kluber as a game. They're going to say, you know what? I love Houston here. I love the over. I'm going to try to get one in on there. That certainly doesn't make amends there. Dallas Keuchel, the lefty at home, folks, 1.77 WOBA versus left-handed batters at home, 1.05 xFIP. So just take any left-handed batter, it shows here, from the lineup for the Cleveland Indians. Just take them out of the lineup based on those numbers. 303 weighted on base average from the right side, 410 xFIP. So you can get them a little bit from the right-handed side, which is good, because looking at Cleveland's advanced numbers today, 6 right-handed batters should be in the lineup to only 3 left-handed bats. He should be able to isolate Dallas Keuchel, those left-handed bats, to get him out of the way. But might be a little glimmer of hope if you're betting the Cleveland Indians today with Dallas Keuchel that you can get to him from the right-hand side. Certainly, clients took divorce, yes, plus 250 at the royal wedding. That's pretty good. Also, know a lot of people might have lost on the facial hair today, folks, of the prince who did get married with a full beard today. So a lot of people looking for cash-out refinances, losing their homes, and having 10-star max wagers on no facial hair on the prince today. So keep in mind on that one also. But in that game, looking overall, Kluber and Keuchel, if we're taking a look at from a better standpoint, roughly pick them, folks. 7 across the board, -110 in the favor of Houston. Obviously, just given that Houston's a really good ball club, and they're playing at home with a good pitcher at home. But going to be tough to find overall value in that game if you're betting from a numbers perspective between both the left and the rights. But there is a little crack in the door, folks, for the Cleveland Indians from the right-hand side to try to get after Dallas Keuchel. Let's keep it going down, 957, 958. San Diego and Pittsburgh. Richard and Kingham going to be on the mound. 66% are going to be leaning on the Pittsburgh Pirates today. Try to come back and get a winner here. Looks like -131 at Pinnacle. We got -138 at Chris, -130 at Intertops. Over under across the board is 7.5 from what we're taking a look at there. So not a lot of runs needed in this one to get over. Let's take a look at some of the numbers basing it down. Richard on the road from the left-hand side, 295 weighted on base average. That's fantastic. xFIP on that side, 3.33. He handles left-handers well. Why, folks? He's a left-handed pitcher. If you can't get lefties out as a lefty, you're probably going to have problems on the right-hand side, and he does, folks. Look at this. Weighted on base average for Richard on the road, an astounding 466. Off the charts, they're raking him. XFIP, not much better, 4.73, almost off the charts as well. So if you can stack right-handed bats versus Richard, you're going to be able to get a nice little combo in there. And looking at Pittsburgh's supposed lineup tonight, folks, 5+ batters, but 6 of the 8 eligible batters, because I don't like to use the pitcher as an eligible batter in the National League, they should be able to get after him. So you got a nice sweet spot there. I know Jeff will tell you each and every time he's going to just bet, seemingly the Pittsburgh Pirates team total over at home religiously, because it seems it comes in more times than not. This is a great shot from the right-handed bats of Pittsburgh to get after it there and touch him up. Kingham, weighted on base average from the left-hand side, this is where it gets weird. 0, which means he's not giving up anything. But you look at the true numbers there of his xFIP, 4.86. So he's pitching he should have a lot of regression from the left-hand side. Right-hand side, 52, 1.36 xFIP, which, again, he's a young pitcher. There's not a lot of stuff to look at for Kingham there, but you're asking for a pitching matchup. It's clear the side from the Pittsburgh side, and also a clear advantage on the lineup side, folks, coming directly for Pittsburgh. Take a look at some numbers in that game, 131, 138. You're not even paying that high a price here if you want to take the Pittsburgh Pirates at home versus the San Diego Padres. Over-under, as we said, 7.5 across the board. Didn't take it too much of a look yet overall into the weather, which we'll get into that after the show and try to make some time and see what we can do here. But we'll keep motoring through these games. Another interesting one yesterday, tweeted out. The one thing I didn't want to get into yesterday with the New York Mets was Jacob deGrom on the mound. Had the game where he was pitching really well through 4 innings, but had to get pulled out of the game for a hyperextended elbow. Then he comes back versus the Phillies in like a rain-delayed first inning, pitches 1 inning. I don't think he gave up a run, but I think it was like 3 walks and loaded the bases and got out of it. They pull him after 1 inning, but he came back yesterday like gangbusters with a really cheap number, because if you looked at the splits yesterday, it was clear that the Mets would have the advantage. The only thing everybody says, well, can the Mets score? I think they was scored just enough in that ball game to actually win what's ended up like a 3-1 final. But deGrom was fantastic in that game. But sometimes you just can't bet saying, you know what, I think deGrom is going to be really good. I'm going to pay this price, as opposed to actually watching it and certainly feeling out and getting back into it there. But if we keep on moving here, we'll go with Arizona and New York Mets. Corbin and Matz, both lefties on the mound here, 57% are going to back the road Diamondbacks. In this instance, opened up at 118 at Pinnacle, now sitting at 122. Chris, 115. Now up to 124. So a little bit of line movement if you're looking out there for the Arizona Diamondbacks. Over under 7. And now look, actually opened at 7, excuse me, folks. Now down to around that 6.5 number from what we're taking a look at both sides of the card. So look, 3-3, not hard to get right, and you get the W. But then again, it is wet and rainy here on the East Coast. So we'll see if they can even get through that. I don't know what the weather conditions are going to be up there in New York and Flushing Meadows, but I assume they're going to be pretty much the same as what they are up and down the East Coast here. Corbin for lefties. I mean, if you're going to have left-handed batters in the lineup with the New York Mets, he's going to take them right out. Road splits 177, weighted on base average, and an xFIP of 136, folks. That's actually not a plus 136. That's a minus 1.36. So if there's left-handed bats out there for the Mets, don't expect them to do much damage. But from the right-hand side, you might be able to touch them up just a little bit. 336 weighted on base average. xFIP is a 356. So there might be a little bit of glimmer of hope there if you could sneak in some right-handed bats today. And they do. Looking at some of the Mets numbers today without seeing their exact lineup, they're expected to have at least 5 right-handed batters of the eligible 8 in the lineup. So you might be able to touch them there. Now look at Mats. Left-handed Woba is, weighted on base average, easier to say, 189, and his xFIP 435. So you can touch him up from that left-handed side out there. Right-handed batters, 357, 373. 6 right-handed batters should be in the lineup today for the Arizona Diamondbacks. So when you're looking at maybe scoring to get over the 6.5, boy, it's hard. I mean, look, this isn't Scherzer versus Kershaw out there, folks. I mean, you're looking at Matz out there versus Corbin. Corbin overall the better pitcher, yes. But my goodness, 6.5. I mean, just outrageous. You get 3 on both sides. You can go put some money in your pocket, which is pretty funny to laugh out there. Yeah, exactly, CC. Wow, 6.5 with Matz on the mound. That's just absolutely outrageous when you try to take a look at it. We'll see some of the lineups that come out there, but just leaning on theory saying, give me 3 each side, I'm going to be able to cash this ticket. That's not something certainly to take lightly in that one, but not an overall whole lot on that one. I mean, you could see Matz might get hit a little bit there depending on what side. You're waiting for those Arizona Diamondbacks to wake up. Were they going to wake up against the ground? Probably not. You got Jake Lamb back in the lineup. We'll see if he plays back-to-back days out there. You're waiting for Goldie to wake up in that lineup there. Obviously, lost A.J. Pollock, which was devastating there because he was rolling along. But they have enough hitters in that lineup that once they're hitting average, so to speak, they should be okay out there. Gerardo Giolito coming up in the next game that we're going to take a look at here. Now, look, if you're looking from the Gerardo angle, he's going to make his debut today. So sometimes you got to dig deeper out there and go on, baseballreference.com or fangraphs.com and take a sneak peek of what he does in the minor league system. 2.57 ERA, folks, through 6 starts. So not one of those guys that's just a tomato that you're going to be bringing up, but I believe these are AA numbers. Correct me if I'm wrong out there. XFIP is 4.92. So obviously pitching well above what his median is there. And coming in the major leagues, you better get your act together real quick. Can't be giving up fly balls or not, keeping guys off the base pass, because Chicago White Sox, say what you want, they're a decent hitting team at home. They're going to come into this game with 5+ at-bats. Giolito, however, same as last night. See big man checking into the box out there. He just atrocious pitching. It doesn't even matter how good your batters are. Sometimes the pitching is so bad it doesn't even matter, like last night. Now you're going to take a look at Giolito's home numbers at home, which are off the charts. Lefty weighted on base average, 493. Right-handers, 385. Both of those damn near off the charts. XFIP from the left-handed side. They're basically telling you at 10.26, if you're a left-handed batter, just get up there and swing, because your ball will end up 15 rows into the left or right field seats at any given time out there. Right-handers, 8.17. Now, Texas doesn't have the strongest lineup, folks, but sometimes when you look at it, there's still quote-unquote professional hitters out there, and how they can actually deal with the equation, because the pitching is so bad from the one side with Giolito. That's what you're going to get up with, just automatic hits out there. So one that you're looking at, the one thing you don't know what you're going to get technically from Gerardo, you're hoping it's going to be a short outing and you might be able to dig into that bullpen. But just looking at the overall game here, take a look at some numbers. No respect for Giolito at all. Gerado's coming up. Texas is an awful team on the road, roughly a pick-up, -103, -101, over under at 9.5 in this one. So certainly an interesting one to look at that, but that is crazy. Type yes if you think Donnie needs his own show. No, less is more. Like maybe if SBR said, you know what, Donnie, we'll pay the same amount, but you'll have to do one show a month, I would sign up. It's the way it is. Less is more out there. The less you see of me, probably the more likely that you're going to like me overall. Keep seeing me pop up on the channels 90 times, Maybe everything's going to wear thin out there, but no. It's going to be nice. Hey, Saturday, it's Sunday. I'm going to head, as soon as the show's over, head down the shore, a little rest, relaxation, take the wife out for a seafood dinner, and maybe never call her again. But, probably ending up at the Borgata tonight to hang out for a little bit, have a couple smokes, but more importantly, pick up some winning plays in some Major League Baseball, folks. 11:42 Eastern time. Still got a lot of time left here on the show, so let's keep it moving down the list. We're going to go to Peralta and Romero, the side of the crime last night. Picked up a W there in the Twin Cities. But now we're going to take a look at 2 different pitching matchups and see how they can maybe weigh in. Peralta on the road for Milwaukee. Not a lot to go off of. 21 total at bats. But at least you get the splits of 10 and 11. 10 from the left-handed side, 11 from the right-handed side. Both unbelievable numbers here. But again, keep in mind, it's not a big, backtracking to work off of. Left-handed weighted on base average 157 for Peralta. Right-hand side, a .063. XFIP 0.14 and -0.27. So basically this guy is a little bit of Scherzer, a little bit of Sandy Koufax, and a little bit of Clayton Kershaw based on his early numbers on the road, all rolled into 1 times 3. So you're going to be due for some regression somewhere, because again, folks, we're only talking 21 total at bats out there. Romero at home, the one thing he can do, folks, he can be had from the right-hand side at home. Weighted on base average 424, XFIP a 577. Now check it out for Milwaukee here, folks. 7+ at batters in their early lineup, 6 of them from the right-hand side. So Peralta can pitch up to his early season capabilities, matched up with the right-handed bats going after Romero there from Minnesota. You might have a nice little cocktail that you can get down with. So that's a clear advantage just based on some of the early numbers that are coming out in the favor of the Milwaukee Brewers. Same thing they rolled last night. Hey, maybe they get a roller tonight, but I'm not too familiar with Peralta overall, unless seeing him time and time again pitch on the road. But just looking at these numbers right here, the way they stack up, Milwaukee should have a nice decided advantage in this one pretty much. So we'll keep that one in mind and keep rolling down the list. 969, 970. Dylan Bundy and Rick Porcello on the mound up in Boston. 78% of those tickets going towards the Boston Red Sox in this manner. Opened up at 200, 205. It's backtracked a little bit. It's pretty expensive. You're going to pay over 2-1 with Porcello, so you're backing into that 180, 190 range. Your over-under opened up at 9.5, but that's also backtracked, folks, down to a 9. Haven't checked the weather conditions, but again, on the East Coast, it has been rainy and certainly raining through and through. Bundy can be touched up from the left-hand side. If you can throw left-handed hitters on the road, 447 split there for weighted on base average. A 505, folks. xFIP coming into the game. So if you could stack left-handed bats up there, looks like if we're taking a look, Boston's going to throw, looks like advanced numbers, about 4 left-handed batters. Would like to see more from that angle, but you can get them there. From the right-hand side, Bundy's been pretty good. 319, 383 xFIP, and weighted on base average split. So he does all right against right-handed batters on the road, but the lefties can do damage versus him. Let's take a look at Porcello. If you can load up left-handed bats versus him at home, you can also do some damage. 353 weighted on base average, 411 xFIP. So they're decent numbers there. The only problem is, folks, we know Baltimore does their damage from the right-hand side of the plate. They can put 4 lefties in the lineup, but we're not talking about, prime examples of people. You're talking about like 6, 7, 8, and 9 guys. Like Machado is just out of his mind right now at the plate, but he's a right-handed batter. So you're not going to get that even wave. You're just going to, hopefully these lefties can do some damage against him and the righty bats can carry through. I hear you on that, but I like to get a decided advantage before I'm going to put any money on anything whatsoever out there. So taking a look at that game definitely could change up some ideas here for us, and we keep on cruising through game 1 and game 2 there. We'll take a look at the first game in Washington today. It's going to be Stripling and Roark. Obviously, the next game up supposed to be Hill and Mad Max on the mound. So we'll just go from a game 1 perspective. You're looking at Stripling and Roark overall. Stripling from the left-hand side, 213 weighted on base average. Looks pretty good there, but his xFIP is 4.74 on the road. That means you can touch him up, and he's due for some regression out there, or maybe you can bang some baseballs over the fence. From the right-hand side, 380 weighted on base average, so you can get some contact in there, do a little bit of damage. But his xFIP from the right-hand side on the road, not too bad. So I would like to see more left-handed batters in the lineup than not if we're going to take a look at the Washington Nationals. Flip it over to Roark. Left-handers can get him at home, folks. 363 weighted on base average, a 401 xFIP. And if you're looking at the Dodgers, they can line up today 5 left-handed batters. That's starting to wake up a little bit there with Justin Turner back in the lineup. So we'll see what they can certainly do out there. But Roark, 4.38 xFIP also from the right-hand side. So you might get some numbers there early. But again, it's going to take place down there in that beltway, Baltimore, Washington, Pimlico's down there. It's probably going to be another wet track. We'll see if they can get through on that. But if this was a nice sunny day, you might be looking at certain things change up. I doubt I'm going to be involved in any one of these 2 games because rain soaked, just trying to get it in. It's already keep in mind, folks, it's already a doubleheader. So you're looking at umpires going out there saying, you know what, game 1, what's it going to start at? 2:05. Well, we better hope we get this in by 5 or 6, and then we can, get to the next game. They might be on speed dial out there, a ball bouncing at the plate. Strike 1, you better swing that bat and get it going. We all been there, minor leagues, major leagues, when we're 8 to 10 years old, rain's coming in, damn near ball can hit you in the head. They're calling it a strike and telling you to swing at it just to keep the game moving. So that's certainly going to be something that you want to take a look at on that list as well. But that's game 1 and game 2. Same thing about game 2, Quintana and Romano there. If you're looking at that Cubs-Reds game, if there's any weather delays or conditions there, I don't like to cap that game until I actually see what took place in game 1, who won the game, who burned their relievers in the first game, who used their best starting lineup in the first game, did they save some for the second game? That's all stuff you like to factor in. It's extremely rare that I even bet 1 or 2 of the actual doubleheader games there, because just a lot of variables, and everybody's gearing up for a doubleheader. How's the umpire going to call the game? How are you going to play the game? Are you tired? Do you want to sit out the first game and play the second game? That also all takes place into respect for that. But even in those games, folks, I take those out of the equation. I get nervous at rain games, and same thing if you're going to have rain and a doubleheader. It's like the double whammy hitting you right in the head here, folks. Let's keep it moving down the list. Look at that. We've got about 10, 15 minutes left in the show. You can sit back, relax, chill, get the whole rest of the day off. We can make a lot of money on there. Seitan's bouncing out of here. I mean, hey, look, sometimes you got to get down in Juarez to get out on that cattle ranch and just round up all the cattle and get back here. It's good to see that Seitan will be at the IFBC coming up again from his great hometown of Juarez, and we hope to see him there and meet up with everybody down there at the IFBC. Urania and Newcomb. Here's another one here because, again, my advanced numbers coming in the game say, hey, let's bet on Tehran today. He's going to be matching up with Urania. That's not the case. Newcomb's going to take them out, obviously, since they did have a rain out. Take a look at some numbers. Urania on the road, 310. The lefties weighted on base average, 300. The righties on its surface looks pretty good, but his xFIP from the right-hand side, he's due to get belted around, 4.60. If you can stack right-handed batters against them, which you only have 3 of them, technically, that looks like they might be in the lineup today for the Atlanta Braves. You might be able to maybe hide him there if you're the Miami Marlins. 3.48 xFIP from the left-handed side, which, that's the Freddie Freeman side. They're going to be able to, a lot of switch hitters on that team that can deal with some power. I like the Atlanta Braves, but I wish those numbers were a little bit flipped around where they have more right-handed bats than left-handed bats. Newcomb's could be on the mound today. I like this kid, but from this home and away splits, it's a completely different story from what you see. Left-handers, 4.88 weighted on base average, xFIP of 8. So if you can line up left-handed bats from Newcomb, you might be able to get into them. Right-handed side, 388. 341 xFIP from the right-hand side on those splits. If you take a look, but can Miami exploit that, right? I mean, it's not the Yankees. You're not going against the Yankees. You're saying, oh, my God, load up, and we can just take this guy deep all day. We're talking about the Miami Marlins here, probably the least talented, I don't know, I think probably the Pirates even, or it's not Pirates, Padres had more talent 1 through 8 than the Miami Marlins. So can they take advantage of these numbers is always the question that we're going to have in here. So, I mean, that's one thing that you want to keep in mind on that. Also, getting down, one of my favorite pitchers in baseball, if you're right, watch the the round table on Wednesday. One of the pitchers I love out there is Luis Severino from the New York Yankees, man. Puts people away. Don't mess around. 98, 99 on the black, devastating devastating breaking ball. That's what it takes to win in this league. If we take a look on the road, 360 to the lefties weighted on base average. Say, hey, you might be able to touch him up. His xFIP's 297 off the charts good. Right-handers weighted on base average versus Luis Severino, 1.94 off the charts good. xFIP 2.92. Good luck hitting off this guy. I mean, hey, KC's going to come in with a projected 4+ batters in this game, 4 from the left-handed side. But there's a reason, folks, when we look out and see these numbers. Minus 240 on the road, minus 250 at Chris, one of the sharpest books out there. There is a reason there. This kid is dominating and giving up nothing. You are going to have to score. And looking at the Yankees, from those travels, sleeping on the plane, sleeping on the tarmac, flying in. We're supposed to have a day off. That got ruined. And look how they played last night. Now maybe their bodies are back in order tonight, going to go against Danny Duffy, because you take a look at his numbers, they're awful. Left-handers, 366 weighted on base average, 676 xFIP, and you're going to bring 6+ batters to the plate, and you can still hammer him from the right side of the 4.37 xFIP, and the Yankees do to have 7 right-handed batters in the lineup. Watch out, Danny Duffy. It looks like he's going to be serving up some souvenirs that might make it into the falls out there in right center field, left center field, or into the seats there. But I don't expect too much to come out of the Kansas City Royals, and that number certainly will reflect on it every way. I mean, he's been damn good, Severino, and you're going against a guy that is susceptible out there. We'll see if the Yankees can line up, get the big boys going, Sanchez, Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, Didi Gregorius. When I saw his numbers coming in, was it 1 for 41? He needs to get back going again after his ridiculously hot starts. What a better way to do it, even though Gregorius is a lefty going against Danny Duffy. You could still peg him from the left-hand side, so Gregorius should be able to get back in there and see what takes place here. We'll keep going down the list here. What do we got next? It is Romo and Heaney out on the left coast here. You're saying Sergio Romo starting the game. Well, if you don't know or follow the Tampa Bay Rays at all when you're watching, a lot of times they like to go bullpen, folks. You know what I mean? Like, just hey, we're going to have a bullpen day. Romo, give us 2. This next guy will give us 2. The other guy will give us 2. We'll see if he can work it in and maybe pull a win out of there. Well, if you're looking at him on the road there, he actually has bad numbers from the left-hand side on the road, 4.34 weighted on base average, 5.39 xFIP. You could tattoo him from the left-hand side, folks. Here's the problem. Most of the damage getting done for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, folks, comes from the right-hand side. So can they pick on Romo well enough? Because his right number splits are pretty good. 203 weighted on base average, xFIP 294. He's holding right-handed batters down. He doesn't control lefties, but this is one of those lineups where you say, like, can the Angels take advantage of it? Because most of their damage comes from the right-hand side of the plate. Heaney, on the other hand, he's been good. 3.29 weighted on base average from lefties at 0.35 xFIP. So if you're a left-handed batter going against him, doesn't look like you're going to fare too well. Right-hand side, again, 2.85 weighted on base average, which is amazing for a pitcher. 3.23 xFIP. That's great as well. Tampa Bay coming in to me, taking a look at these pitchers going against a lefty, they hit them pretty well, but if you're looking at Heaney, he minimizes that damage at home. So going over there, it's hard to take over-unders for me right now with the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, and especially when Tampa Bay comes to town. Can they hit a little bit? Sure they can, but more likely than not, they don't have a power surge. It's the opposite of a power surge for Tampa Bay. So maybe looking at maybe an under total. But let's take a look at some numbers out there. Opened up at 164, 170, depending where you're shopping. Mid 170s out there right now. 8.5 as the over under in that one. Most people just see Romo inserted there in the starting pitcher. It's going to be a bullpen game. You're going to get 9 innings of bullpen going against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. But those are the hardest games for me to cap, folks, because I don't know exactly who's coming in and what time frame in these things here. Mark Louis, I need winners, damn it. Trying to provide you for some sense out there, see certain things. I have a little bit of ways I like to go. But again, you know me, folks out there, from like if you use my service or you see me on Twitter, my plays usually come later in the day because I am a gambling procrastinator. I'm not the one guy that wakes up in the morning and goes, oh, my God, That's my game. I don't even want to look at another game. These numbers make sense. I like to narrow it down, swipe that one off the list, swipe that one up the list. I'm now down to 4 games, swipe it down to 3. I'm now down to 2 games, swipe it down there. And then I look at the 2 games and say, I think it could do better. Let's bring another game back into play and another one, swipe another one off there. That's down to 3 again, down to 2 again. All right, game starts at 7:05. It's 5:58. We finally found our game to get after it because I like to look at games. And again, it comes from the advantage of being this is my job. I get to sit here all day long and mull over the most nonsensical numbers, which might give me a slight advantage in the game that I'm going to play there. And that's what I bank on. They're having a good baseball season so far, 10-5 overall. So we'll see if we can continue that. Less is more as always. Like, look at this huge card today, folks. I'm going to pick out one game that I like and one game only and fire it after there once I see some final information come out there. One more game I do want to go over here for us that we could take a look at. That's going to be on the left coast. That's going to be Fires and Paxton. If you take a look, Paxton is a lefty. It's kind of funny, lefty at home, 806 weighted on base average, 16.3 xFIP. But the problem is there is most people are coming from the right-hand side. He deals very well. Now, you look at Detroit. What's everybody going to say out there in the chat box? Detroit crushes left-handed pitching. The one thing that's funny with Paxton, he's the inverse there. He actually does better against righties than he does overall left-handed batters. 2.39 weighted on base average, 2.67 FIP is outstanding. So we're going to put that to the test tonight. Can Detroit handle left-handed pitching due to being out that environment in a big ballpark in Seattle versus a guy that loves to face right-handed batters? But if you're looking from Detroit there, they're going to have 4 left-handed batters supposedly in the lineup tonight. 5 from the right-hand side. We'll see if those numbers add up. Fires have been okay, 3.82 weighted on base average, 3.28 FIP from the left-hand side. But right-handed batters, 5.41 xFIP here. They might be due for a little bit of regression in that one there. I'm going to watch Halup's sexy ass. Whoever Halup is, I don't know, maybe tennis, soccer, boxing, something like that. But we have a couple minutes left in the show here. That's the full and complete baseball card. You know, I just wanted to come on today as a Saturday show, not so much to, you know, look at the overall card, which we did bounce up and down. But even if you're watching on replay or you catch like the first things, just to take a little bit of a dip in the mindset of what I actually use to cap games going in. Again, just to recap, huge on home road splits, folks. Again, it starts with the premises. I don't give a damn what you do in your home ballpark if you're on the road. I don't give a damn what you do on the road if you're at home. The same thing goes into baseball. Same thing goes into football. You know, sometimes when you change up the environments, pitchers' true numbers show, boy, he dominates lefties at home. Boy, he can't get lefties out on the road. Well, why would you take the average of those two together when you're playing in the away ballpark there? Take advantages. See how they bat against lefties. If they're heavy left-handed and they're going to go into the game and face a lot of right-handed batters who do damage versus lefties, use that to your advantage. And also the hardest thing from a handicapping philosophy is take the names out of the equation, because you can get scared off on a lot of bets that, you know, I don't want to take an over in Max Scherzer, even though he might struggle a little bit here against righties on the road in this spot here. Or, boy, I don't really, the guy threw a no-hitter last game, or I don't want to go against, you know, Matt Harvey or Jacob deGrom, or, you know, whoever the big-name pitchers are out there. If you could take it as a faceless person, you see it all the time on a lot of these ESPN shows, right? Player A, player B. They give you the numbers. They look similar. It turns out, oh, my God, one's Ozzie Albies, one's Mike Trout. Like, take the names out of there. The numbers will tell you the true story, and stick to your guns on there. Trust what you look at. And again, if you're not used to using all these websites with the advanced metrics, take a whole summer. Hey, you can still gamble and play out there, but hone your craft in there. Use it every single year. I'm going to add in a number or two that I didn't use in the past year, because statistical advantages get better for us, the gamblers, every year. I don't know what I would have done pre-internet, pre-Twitter. Like, get a newspaper out and use the newspaper lines like we used to do back in the 90s, or Crux, really good, you know, 323 on the season, but you have no idea like his home road splits or what the pitchers are doing. Use all this information to your advantage. Great tools here at sportsbookreview.com and also at SBR Sports Picks, all to your advantage. Reach out. We're nice guys here. You know, reach out to Jeff on Twitter. Reach out to me on Twitter. Reach out to Jimmy and Pete and Mark Lathrop and, you know, Charles Stark. We're all on Twitter, ready and available here. And generally, we do want to help you out. You know, and see if we can get more winners out there. But again, yeah, CC, low volume. It's great. I mean, it's exactly what we do. Any Preakness bets, Donnie? Well, I mean, I'm not a horse gambler, but I am a gambler that likes value. And I just don't see value in minus 250 or whatever Justify is going to end up with. I do root for them because, you know, I like big events. I would love to see Justify win today and then headed to the Belmont for a Triple Crown. Triple Crowns are fun, man. Those big parties at the Belmont, those big parties across the nation. You're tuned in on a late Saturday night in June to watch the Belmont and the Triple Crown. I love that stuff, man. man. It's fantastic. Absolutely, man. So we are almost done here. 1 minute left in the show. I hope you enjoyed it. Let chance a little pick my brain here. I got to talk for a full hour, so I feel like I got a cardio workout here. It's usually me and the big man on campus working together. Get to take some time off and mess around with people in the chat box. I think I maybe taped one thing. I don't even know if I even typed a single thing. Let me just put something in there in the chat box here that you can put up in just a few moments here. Let's see. Let me just make sure I put an imprint in there and say hello. There we go. So good one there. Yeah, take Jimmy to bed. I mean, I know he likes sports racing, and I do believe he did put out a video on sportsbookreview.com, so go check that out. Chad Costanza, Donnie, where can I go to get good stats on splits? They're all out. Look, if you're not using fangraphs.com, you're doing it all wrong, folks. You're betting baseball all wrong. Take it for a spin. Look at everything they have. And again, if you're not used to those numbers, it's going to blow your mind saying, oh my God. But the only way to get involved, remember the first time, I was 21, basically 20. They didn't card me, but stepping up to a craps table with my brother-in-law who loved craps, and it's like, you'll love this game. And I was damn near frozen for 30 minutes before I placed my bet because my head was spinning on what was going around. The only way you learn these games or how to get involved is taking it for a spin and dipping in. Again, if you're not using fangraphs.com, you're betting baseball completely wrong. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. It's 12 o'clock Eastern time. I'm going to be out of here, heading down, as Jeff would love it there, to Atlantic County down there. We'll have some fun, be a little bit Cape May tonight, swing up there on the coast, probably be in Atlantic City a little bit later tonight. We'll have some fun. Hopefully this helped you out today, gave you a little bit of betting knowledge and insight on what I like to look at. Me and the big man on campus be back on Monday, 10 a.m. bright and early for the right side of campus all week long. And next Saturday, the big man on campus will join me again for the closing line here at sportsbookreview.com. Thanks once again for everybody for tuning in. If you have any questions, just reach out to me. More than happy to help you on Twitter if you want guidance on maybe like a site that you want to use or want to get involved in. Or, Donnie, what does this number mean? Hey, look, this is what we're here for. This is what we love to do, talk betting and winning sports. I'm Donnie Rightside for sportsbookreview.com. In the closing line, have a great day, folks.